This is our press briefing we had our Epoc meeting on September 27th, 2019, and we are happy to be here today to report. Now, 3 years ago, when we had our first press briefing, we put out what we called our "What is the end in mind?" And this was the end in mind, right? This was the end in mind 3 years ago that we put forward. Where do we want to be in 3 years' time as a country from a macroeconomic perspective? We said we wanted to increase and sustain growth levels. We want an increase in a fiscally responsible GOJ with debt to GDP of 96% and maintain a primary surplus of 7%. We wanted to greater levels of non-borrowed NIR of about 2.8 billion to help cushion the country from shocks. And we said if we were able to achieve these targets, we would increase fiscal space so that we could invest in our country, that we could invest in infrastructure. I believe we have all seen the results. So where are we today? Debt to GDP is at 94%, right? Our non-borrowed reserves are about 2.5 billion. And we have maintained 18 quarters of growth, albeit below the levels that we really want to see growth for Jamaica, right? And so therefore, I would say the program has been a success. So we spoke about the end in mind earlier, where we wanted to end the program at around $2.8 billion of non-borrowed reserves. We are right there. The 12-month point-to-point inflation rate at August 2019 was 4.1%, within Bank of Jamaica's target range of 4 to 6%. Core inflation, measured as a consumer price index, excluding the price of agricultural commodities and fuel, of 2.4%, 2019. This was actually lower than when compared to the rate at July 2018, this should be, of 2.6%. Now, core inflation is where you really look at the underlying domestic demand conditions, and this is the number that we really want to see move, because it suggests that you can close the output gap if you increase domestic demand. Lending to the productive sector by deposit-taking institutions, that's banks, reflected annual growth of 16.5% at June 2019 relative to 15.8% at June 2018. This was mainly underpinned by the lending to businesses in the professional and other distribution and construction industries. So we continue to see credit grow at an excellent pace. Not where we want it to be, because if we're going to grow the GDP, we need to see more investments. But what is good about this is that actually the credit to businesses are growing faster than retail credit at this point in time. So that's very positive. On September 30th, 2019, the value of the Jamaican dollar vis-a-vis the US dollar was 135.16. On an annual basis, the Jamaican dollar depreciated 0.3%. So when we speak about volatility and when we speak about the exchange rate, and the exchange rate depreciated year over year 0.3%. The real effective exchange rate, and this is what we use to assess Jamaica's level of competitiveness. We lost about 0.4% of competitiveness at August 2019 as measured by the change in the annual average real effective exchange rate. And this was due to the movement in inflation between ourselves and our trading partners, and also the movement in the currency. So we lost about 0.4% of competitiveness, not significant at all. So let's do a little overview of recent developments. Starting recorded growth of 1.3% for April through June 2019. The economy actually outperformed the PIOJ projection of 1% for the quarter. This was impacted by a downturn in agriculture, forestry and fishing of 1.7%, which was offset by growth of 4.6% in mining and quarrying and 5.8% growth in hotels and restaurants. On September 24th, the interim fiscal policy paper was released to the public. Of note was a reduction in the GDP growth rate target from 1.5 to 0.7% due to the announced closure of the Alpat alumina plant for 18 to 24 months to facilitate upgrading of the plant facilities. However, the GOJ is committed to accelerating the growth in real GDP to 2% in the medium term as stated in the fiscal policy paper. The first supplementary estimates for 2019-20 were tabled in September 2019, which takes into account the fiscal performance to date, including higher debt service costs arising from a debt management operation. Right. We need to note also that interest costs were behind budget, so therefore the burden of interest on the government account is actually behind budget and has contributed to the fiscal surplus that we are now experiencing. The supplementary estimates include recurrent additional expenditures of 9.9 billion. That additional expenditure of 9.9 billion was primarily housekeeping matters. The major contributors to that were the TAJ, Tax Administration of Jamaica, 1.457 billion, GCT refund, 694.7 million, pensions, 622.8 million, Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, an additional 1 billion, Ministry of National Security, an additional 1.4 billion, and the University of Technology subvention, 1 billion. Amortization, which is related to the debt management operation, increased by 40.2 billion. There was a debt swap recently, everyone is aware of that. The debt management operation actually reduces the debt stock by 34.2 million and reduces future interest costs by US 18.2 million. Actually, the Ministry of Finance Planning should be congratulated on this operation. It reduces our debt levels and it takes down our future interest costs. On September 30th, the BOJ announced its decision to hold the policy rate at 0.5%. So the BOJ's monetary policy stance continues to be accommodative. Tax revenues continue to outperform targets and are up by 6.8% or 11.4 billion year over year. This is despite the tax givebacks in the removal of distortionary taxes and reduction of ad valorem taxes of 14 billion in the budget presented for 2019-20. So therefore, tax revenues, in spite of the givebacks, continue to outperform budget, and they continue to increase at 6.8%, which is above inflation. So we would say the underlying strength of the economy, of the economic activity and commerce continues to be strong. While Jamaica's macroeconomic indicators remain strong, however, growth levels continue to hover below 2%, and growth projections for the current fiscal year have been lowered to 0.7%. This is occurring within the context of ongoing trade tensions globally and the fear of further slowdown in global growth, especially among Jamaica's main trading partners. Jamaica has to remain resolute and continue the economic reforms which have worked well for macroeconomic stability and continue to drive toward the GOJ's medium-term growth target of 2%, and Jamaica needs all hands on deck. As this IMF program closes out, Epoc would like to acknowledge the achievement of both political administrations, demonstrating the strong political will to successfully execute the economic reform program over the past almost 7 years. While we still have great challenges ahead, Epoc acknowledges and celebrates the ownership, patience, and sacrifice shown by all Jamaicans, ensuring that Jamaica is in a better place today. We are positive that Jamaica can achieve its true potential as we embark on this new phase of our journey to true economic independence, which should see real inclusive and equitable growth for all Jamaicans.